3, 2, 1, go. What's up, guys? So this is a very iconic sneaker. So I'm going to try to make this in Nomad Sculpt. This is way outside of my wheelhouse, but I think it'll be fun. So I appreciate you guys joining me. Here is a brand new scene. And we're going to first bring in the sneaker so that we can have the reference. Import. Okay, that looks pretty good, but let's adjust it a little bit. Whoop. Okay. So when I look at this sneaker, the only way that my mind can sort of break it down in a way that I can construct it is, firstly, I see this base here. Maybe even the bottom of it, like it could be a cylinder spread out, or even a torus. So I see the bottom, and then I see these shapes like this shape, and I see all of those coming up from the bottom part, and then having to like carve this out. Just carve it out, like looking at it in this direction. And then doing the same with the white, carving that out, and just, and then making all these pieces individually. So yeah, I'm probably going to be using a lot of trim and a lot of Boolean operations, because that's really the only way that I know how to do some of this stuff. And then just make these shapes, just kind of sculpt them out. As you can see, sometimes I'm not that technical. I just like stuff to look good and look cool. So we'll start out. Let's get rid of this sphere. I don't think we need it. But I think I want to start with a cylinder, since the sides are flat. And then we can do either a tube or, maybe we'll do something else for the top. But let's start with this very bottom piece. All right, so I think this is pretty good. And for now, I'm just going to raise do I want to raise the topology? I'll raise the topology and raise the post subdivision. And I'll validate it just because I want it to be quite big, and I'll just voxel remesh it around like 250 or so for now. Okay, so now basically I just have to sort of make this base, and I don't want the specs to be exact. I just want it to be a cute 3D sneaker. So firstly, let's just shrink it to what we think the base can be. It can be a little thicker, actually. So maybe something like this. And I think I'm going to do so the toes are out this way. So if we were looking at the top view, it would be like this. But in order to do that, I want to stretch the whole thing. And you can't just stretch this way because it really won't be what you need. So I think I'm just going to have to stretch it in the shape of like a sneaker as best I can, and then just go from there. So, I mean, you could just cheat, just look at the page, just go to like the Air Jordan page, and you can sort of look at it here. But if you've ever drawn feet, then it's kind of like that same shape, that same foot shape. So I'm going to turn it this way so that the toes would be like up here. So I want to use move, but you don't want to just use move on this, because obviously like you'll have some weird stuff happening. So you have to mess with the symmetry, unfortunately. So with the symmetry, we don't want everything that's happening up here to be down here. So let's turn the red off. Green is a yes, because when we do this, when we're messing with it, we do want the bottom to be affected. So do we want left and right? we'll leave off left and right for now, I think. And unfortunately, I wish I could just, anyway, so let's just move it and let's just make a sort of foot shape. So we'll bring this up. So it's sort of like this, but there'd be a little bit of a bend in it. And then I'm going to make the move tool a little bit smaller so I can kind of bring this in. So I'm thinking something like that will probably work pretty well. Pretty simple. So this would be the right shoe. The big toe would be here, you know, because this is a little bit higher right here. This is always like a little bit higher kind of thing. And then we have the heel. So I think that actually works. Now we can probably stretch it out a little bit if we want it a little wider. Okay, so that's our basic shoe shape. If we turn it this way, the big toe is here. I think that's the same way that this sneaker is. This is the outside of the sneaker. So the pinky toe would be here. So if this was like this, yeah, the pinky toe would be over here. And I think that's pretty good. All right, so I'm actually going to drop the resolution of this. Do I want to do that now? It's tricky. Yeah, I'm going to drop the resolution, the voxel remesh. So we're going to voxel remesh around, maybe around like 200. I like to use the voxel remesh down there. It's the same as going here, voxel, and then putting in the number here. So that's the same. I just like this. Oops. Okay, so we voxel remeshed at 200, so I should be able to, there we go. Using the round all brush, make sure you check out the tutorial for the round all brush. If you haven't already, I use it in everything. Okay, so let's turn it back to the side. All right, so now it's a little more rounded. Okay, so we have a few different parts here. So this, like, we have this part, the white part, and then we have the black part. And it feels like the easiest thing to do would be to trim this. So let's take our trim and maybe we'll try lasso, and we'll see how well this goes. So I'm using trim. I'm going to go to the trim settings and make sure that all these are turned down. And I'll use the lasso. So it looks like it's straight and then low and then straight across. And you know what? It might actually be easier if I use a polygon. We use the polygon. So it kind of comes up to almost halfway. So we'll make this like that. Then there's a bend. So there's a bend like this. I'm going to add another dot to the bottom just so I can bring this out. So it's, am I on trim? I should be on split. So that's my first mistake. I meant to be on split. So go to split, and then same thing. We'll use the spline. Let me check out my split settings. Okay, they're the same. So split, polygon, and we'll just do the same thing. So we'll bring it from the middle. You can still adjust these if you need. And there's a bend. And I'll just add a few nodes just so I can stretch this out. So we can make sure that it trims everything that's in the white, or that it splits everything that's in the white. Okay, so Let's add one here for this curve. When they're black, it's more of a straight angle, so but you can just tap it again for white, which is like a round angle. So then it looks like it goes straight back to the back of the shoe. So let's add another node down here and then tap this so that it's nice and straight. So that's straight across. It goes here, there's a curve. We want to get this curve right, so let's add another node so that we can get this nice curve. Let's make this straight. Let's bring this forward a little bit. Then we have our curve. So then we have a curve and then it looks like it's straight. So I'm just going to make this a little bit thicker. So something like that. So we just have a straight curve, same as this, straight, then it curves up and then goes straight again. So I think that's pretty good. And there is a slight bend, so you can always add another node and sort of just have that slight bend in there. If you're crazy like I am, then you can do that. So now let's just go ahead and split this with the green. Okay, then we have something like that. So let's take the bottom piece and let's use our rounded edge on the bottom piece. Ooh. So that tells me that I should voxel remesh first. So I'll voxel remesh at 200. So that should solidify it a little bit more. So that's much better. We'll do the same to the top. So I'll remesh it at 200 and then use my round edge tool. And I could probably even, if you want things to be a little more, like if you want the edges to be a little more not as round, you can voxel remesh it a little bit higher. So let's say maybe 275. And then for the top, we'll do 275. So we voxel merge them both at 275, and then we'll use our round edge. And it should just be like the higher you go, it'll be a little bit more straight. So it's just a little more clean. Let's take a look at the other side. So I think that's okay. And we'll bring them down. We'll kind of make them touch at a later point, I think. Okay, so now we have another division up here. So let's tap front, and then we just need to make this division so it looks like a straight line, and then it kind of comes up. And I do think that, I'm not sure exactly how we'll make these threads in there, or if we even need them, but we'll figure that out at a later point in time. I think splitting this and making that division is more important. So we'll use the split tool again, not the trim. And we'll use the polygon tool again. So it looks like it's about halfway, and it kind of just goes, it kind of just goes down. And actually we didn't make any sort of, it kind of like curves in a little bit there. So like, do we even want to do that? I'm not too certain, but if we want to just do a small thing like that, we could possibly use flatten. And let me make sure that I check my symmetry, because I don't want to, and also go down to advanced and turn on the lines. That way you can see what you're working with. So it looks like we want to turn this off, maybe just the blue for left and right. And if we flatten, we might be able to, it's probably not going to be clean enough if we do it that way. So let's turn symmetry off. And another way to get this slight bend would be to just kind of carve it out. So if we use trim and we use the ellipse, then you might be able to get a shape like that. Something like this. Yeah, something like that. So you just have to make sure that your ellipse settings, if it's just doing the circle, then uncheck these. This is for circle and this is for centered. If you have those unchecked, then you can just do like a random ellipse like I just did. So now let's, so we use trim, so I'm going to voxel remesh this at like 300. Because I don't want to really affect the shape. We've already carved it. I don't want to affect the shape too much. So it seems like it's something like that. And again, I don't even know if I really want this much detail in it, but oh well. So now let's use split, polygon, and we're going to make that line. Whoops. So we'll start here. Kind of go straight. And then there's that round bit. But I'm just kind of bringing it to the... Wait a minute, what happened? Oh, I know what happened. I have to make those other nodes. And I'm going to make some nodes here. And then stretch it out to where I need it. So, and remember, don't try to resize the screen at all because you'll mess up what you're doing. Just, you kind of just have to do what you got to do while it's on the screen. So essentially, I'm just following this shape. Slight curve here. And then it goes around to the back of the shoe. So I think that feels about right. Maybe this is a little bit, it's a very slight curve. And this can be up a little bit further. So maybe something like that. And then we will split. Okay, so now let's voxel merge these bits and pieces. I'll voxel merge them both at 300, and let's save. Let's save, and then I'll rename kicks. Okay, so now I'm going to use my rounded edge and just round these out, both of these pieces, which we've already subdivided, or remeshed, voxel remeshed. Okay, so we have 3 layers there. Not bad. Oh, all right, so now we can start getting to the rest of this shape. And if I was smart, what I would have done is take this whole cylinder shape, and then I should have probably did a clone of it. That way I could have that general shape. But that's okay. I'll just have to probably make this shape again using another cylinder or something like that. All right, so yeah, let's add another cylinder. And let's sort of just make this shape again. So I'm going to stretch it. All right, so I'm going to start it in the middle like this. And I can go ahead and validate it, and then I'll just subdivide it. Like 250, that'll be fine. So now we have to do the same thing. Oh, it's a little high for now. So we'll do something like that. So we need move, but we don't want the front and the back. We want to use, I think it was green, just the green for now. So we can just do the top and the bottom. So now I'm just going to make this shape once again. I'll make this a little bit bigger. It's a little hard to see. And also it is kind of annoying that it's not taking the whole shape. It's still moving the top more than the bottom. So let's just make it a little more thin. Let's bring it back to, there we go. We'll make it a little more thin, and then we'll try it again. Let's bring it down a little bit. Okay, so let's use move, make it really big. And I'm just going to maneuver this to get the shape that we need. Okay. And notice I'm just making the move tool smaller when I really want to get those specific shapes. Oh, I know what's happening. It's also moving up and down. Okay. So now I just want to like kind of stay in the lines. I'm not that bothered with it being perfect because, you know, at least we can sort of maneuver, so we can adjust it as we need, if we need to. And I definitely know that there's easier ways to do this, but this is sort of how my brain works, though. Like I know that I should be more efficient, but I kind of have to do things. Oh yeah, I wish it would stay straight. That's one thing that I do know, and I'm sure someone watching knows how to use the move tool without it going up and down. Front facing vertex only, same side vertex only. I don't know what that is. Yeah, I'm not sure, but I'm sure there's a way to probably do it. Maybe if I turn pressure off. Oh, actually pressure doesn't use pressure. So yeah, I'm not too sure how to do that. But anyway, that's okay. So I'm just going to try to bring this up a little bit. Okay, so that's pretty decent. This looks like it can... Okay, that looks pretty decent. So now I'm going to stretch this out. I'm going to stretch it out really far. And then I think I want to trim it for now. So let's take trim with the rectangle and just trim it. Okay. All right, so I'm going to clone this. Let's rename this to body base. And let's rename these. I'm going to do S1 for sole, S2, S3. That's just so we can have some sort of organization. So body base, I'm going to clone and then hide. And I'm just going to bring it down here because we'll probably need it later. And I don't want to do the same thing I did and have to do this again. Because I wouldn't have had to do this if I took the first initial one and just doubled it, just cloned it and hit it. But that's all right. So firstly, this part of the sneaker, the bottom part of the sneaker sort of curves like that. So what's the best way to do that? We could try to use smooth. So like if we just do the selective mask tool and we mask the top, and we mask the whole oh, I must have had symmetry on. So if we mask all that, we can take our smooth and just smooth the front end. And by smoothing the front end, we're sort of getting rid of that ridge. Okay, I think that's pretty good, actually. So let's get rid of the selective mask. And I'm just going to use rounded edge on the whole thing, just so it stays consistent and smooth. So now the front of this is actually a little bit shorter too, so I'm going to smooth that as well. And then the front of this actually goes back even further. So I'm going to smooth that to sort of bring it back. Okay, it's going back a little bit. Another thing that we can do is use the select mask again and just mask the back. And then use our gizmo and we can slide this back some. Like that. So let's get rid of the mask now. And I'm just going to remesh it again. And then I'm going to do the rounded edge just to make sure that that's nice and smooth. Okay. Let me save. All right, so, and I have no idea how I'm even going to make this. So I think we can use trim. And let's actually spread this out a little bit, even a little bit more even. And I'm going to voxel remesh it. All right, so I think we can use trim and we can sort of start making these shapes. So if I use split, I'm not sure how clean if I just use lasso, but if I use lasso and I go up, straight back, and then make that little hook, let's see how that works. So I'm just going to go straight across. I'm going to make that little hook. Then I'm going to go up. And I'm going to come back down like this. And while I'm here, I think I'm going to try to do the back as well. So looks like there's some space in between. But then the back part comes up and that goes to about there. Okay, so maybe something like that. This might be a little too high, but we'll see. Okay, so what do we want to do here? We could actually take this top piece and start making other pieces. But let's go ahead and voxel remesh the bottom part. I'll remesh this one too. Whoop, what was that? That's strange. Okay, so maybe this part is no good. So let's take this and let's use rounded edge and round all of this out. Oh, that's strange. That is the weirdest split situation. All right, so I'm going to use move, and I'm just going to move everything in, because right now this is like bleeding over that, so I just want to move it in a little bit, just for my own sanity. Okay, and now let's bring these down too. Let's bring these parts down. So we'll bring that down, and then we'll bring this piece down. Okay. So I wonder if we can just squeeze this. Oh, these two parts are separate. Interesting. So let's move the whole thing down. And it looks like the front part is curved back. So let's take our smooth and then let's just smooth the front part. And we actually don't really want anything to happen to the bottom, so if that's the situation, I'll use select mask and just mask off the bottom. Oh, that might be a little bit too high. I'll just mask off the very bottom. And then hopefully I can smooth it, but if not, then I'll just use move or drag. Maybe drag. No, that doesn't work. Okay, so maybe let's use flatten. And let's see if we can just flatten across that front edge. Okay, now I'm going to do another one. I'm going to press a little bit harder. Okay, we can probably take off the selective mask, because that seems to be working decently, so, whoop. So I'll just use flatten. And just flatten to make that angle. Again, I'm sure that there's easier ways to do it, but I don't know, this is kind of fun. So now I'm just going to smooth everything, keep it nice and smooth. Okay. I am a bit worried about this though, because these parts are way too flat to be useful, I think, unfortunately. All right. So now I want to bring back the body base that we made. I'm just going to clone it and bring it up. and I'm going to hide the original one there. So for this body base, I want to shrink it a little bit. Because I want it to be inside the other features. So I'll shrink it that way, and I'll shrink it this way a little bit. All right, let's stretch this out. This looks like it needs to be remeshed. That's better. Let me save. Let me do some rounded edge, see if I can get rid of these, like, I can still see those ribs, which I don't like. So I'm going to go back to before I remeshed it. And I'm going to subdivide it first. So I'll subdivide it once. Then I should be able to remesh it. We'll do 350. Oh, that didn't even, I feel like that made it worse. Oh well, so I guess I won't. I'll just do rounded edge. I thought that would make it look better if I subdivide it, but it didn't really. Because I just don't like. You can still see those like ribs in the mesh, but I think that's okay. That's better. So what we need to do now is we need to trim, kind of like going straight up almost. I'm not sure how I want to play this. Okay, so I think if I use my trim tool, we could do polygon again, since you guys love polygon. So let's try this. So we'll use this. I'm actually going to clone this and hide it because I think it's very useful. So I'm going to rename this shoe base A, or frame. So now let's use our polygon, and I'm going to go up here over this and then a slow increase. Yeah, I think that works. A slow increase around here. All right, so let's start. So this is the red part over like the tip of the shoe. Seems to like kind of curve up till like here. Then there's another big curve. All right, let's just bring this out a little bit. So let's get this bottom part right. We'll tap on the node so it's dark. And it actually has like a slight curve here. Whoop, we don't want it black. Okay, so there's a very slight curve there. This actually looks very long, so we might have to adjust that later. So then it goes up to here, and then there's another big curve where the laces are. Somewhere up here. So there needs to be room for this little squiggle, and then that strap that comes down here. So, I think this could work. So let's pronounce this little area where the shoelaces are. I'm going to bring that up a little bit. And then here's the part with the shoe. This looks good. Okay, I think that looks good. All right. I actually meant to split, but that's okay. I guess. I mean, it's slowly starting to look somewhat like a shoe. I'm just going to save. Okay, so we're going to have some like puffing to do. Obviously, we don't want this to be like so jagged. So I'm going to lower the voxel remesh to like 100. And then I'm going to take round it all. And just round it out. And hope that it starts to look better than this. Okay, so we kind of want this to be rounded a bit more. It's actually taking shape, because the more rounded it gets, the more it sort of just starts to look a little more correct. All right, I think that's actually okay. Or decent, I should say. Oh, I'm still worried about this thing though. But you know what? Let's get rid of this. I think I have an idea. Oh yeah, that's the right part. So let's get rid of that, and we can probably carve that out of this piece. We can probably carve a lot out of this piece. So let's trim this piece first. So we'll use trim, rectangle, and let's trim the bottom part. There we go. And let's stretch this out, because we can see that it's a little too much of a gap there, and it's too much of a gap in the back as well. So we'll stretch it out, and then we'll move it down. Okay, that feels a little better. Okay, so let's copy. I don't think we need this body base, but we'll keep it for now. Let's clone the frame, because that's a lot of the work already done for us. So let's clone the frame and hide that. I like to do this so if I mess up, I can always go back. So if we just use trim, and let's use polygon, just because it's cleaner. Let's use split instead. So we just want to pay attention to the back. So it just goes up and then over like that. So we use polygon. So we want to do up and then over. All right, and let's spread this out some. I'll tap on that so it's more. Tap on this so it's straight. There we go. I think that looks good. Let's see, it's around the same height. I'll lower this a smidge. But I think that's pretty good. So let's split. Okay, so this was very bad quality. So I'm just gonna undo and then take this one and I'm gonna voxel remesh it. Like 350. And then let's just do a little test. Much better. Okay, so let's just do the same thing with the polygon. Ooh, I want to make sure that I hit front. kind of want to make that straight, but I do want that to be rounded, but hopefully we can round it out when we smooth it. Okay, this should be good. Oh, again. I'm not sure if it's the polygon or if it's... Now it's good. Okay, so maybe I did hit undo past the point where I voxel remeshed. Let's see. Come on. Come on. There we go. Much better. So now I'll tap on this, and I want to voxel remesh everything. We'll do it at 250. Oh no. Let's solo this. Yeah, that same weird thing is happening again. It's very, very odd. All right, after fiddling around with it, it seems like we keep getting those weird shapes. So what we'll do is use the trim, but we'll use the line. Let's see, we'll use trim and we'll use the line. And we kind of have to just make like a trim here and then a trim there. So the line, you just kind of hold around where you want to make the first cut. So that looks good. And then we just want to make the second cut about here. The white is what gets cut. So maybe something like that. So now we should be able to voxel remesh it around 250, okay. It's much better, much, much better. And then I'll just round all. Okay. So now we have that little back piece. And we might have to do that a couple more times, I think. So let's bring the base frame back. And let's check the topology of this. So for this base frame, I'm going to, let me save. I'm going to voxel remesh it at like 300. Only because I want, what is this? Yeah, because I like when it's, I'm going to clone it and hide it. I don't want to always have to subdivide it. Or I don't always want to have to voxel remesh it. So now we have a higher res body frame base. We have the other piece. So we'll name this body base heel. So we have the heel, and we can probably, let's do pivot, reset pivot. That puts the pivot in the middle of the object. So the base will be about here. I'm just going to pull that out so we can see it. Because if we might need it for some other, to help us with these other shapes. So now we can use this original body base, and we can probably cut this piece. So the white doesn't come past this thing, so we can just use our line and we can trim down here because the white doesn't come past there. So it looks like the white does a straight line from here. So we can probably trim all this. Here's where it kind of gets tricky because it does come down, but then it curves up. So let's try the polygon and just see what we get. So we'll make one here, and we'll make one here. Oh, actually I want to do split instead. No, actually trim was okay. I think I just, yeah, let's do trim instead. I'm bugging. Let me make sure I'm on front. So the same thing, one there, and then one there. We'll spread this out. And these can be fairly straight, actually. I think that's okay. So something like this. We still need to, we're going to need to put this piece in there. So I'm actually going to raise this up a little bit. I want to be able to fit the red and the white there. And we might actually have to, well, let's see if we can trim it first. If it trims okay. Not bad. Let's see if we can voxel remesh it. Okay, that's not bad. That's not bad. I was worried about that. So let's use our round edge and just round it out. And like later on we can come back and try to like get the size down, but for now we got to get these shapes. We got to get these shapes together because they are a mess. I'm also noticing that this should be a little higher. So let's solo it. Let's use move. And it would be nice if X worked. Let's see if X works. I don't see the, oh, maybe the blue. Z instead. So if we're using Z, maybe I can get 2 for 1. There we go. So I just want to bring that up a little bit. Maybe I was a little too overzealous. Okay, so maybe something like that. Let's hit solo again. And then I'd like to bring this up a little bit too. So let's try the Z. We'll turn symmetry on. And let's just try to drag this up a little bit. We'll try to just drag this up a little bit. It's going to get covered, but I still want to just drag it up a little bit and make it a little higher. That feels better. Okay, so, because there's still going to be another piece over all of this. So we have to figure out how to make this, now this kind of strap. So let's bring back, we have our body base frame. Let's clone it. Let me save so I don't get a crash. Okay, this is all looking very good. Very good, I think. Okay. I'm going to make this a little, I'll just leave it. I was going to make it a little thinner, but I think I just need to bring out these parts a little bit. I think that's a better idea. That way we can see them. I'm going to bring out this back part too. There's no, symmetry isn't on, but I think symmetry, the blue, if we're going to use something, it's the blue. But we might not actually need any symmetry for right now. But I just want to bring it out enough so that we can see what we're doing. It's not perfect, but we can fix it. But we need to be able to see like where this white part is and all of that stuff. We also need to see where the back part of that is. So let's solo the white part. And let's just make it a little wider. There we go. Let's make this a little wider too. Again, this is just so we can see the different parts. Okay, so for this, let's change it to the blue again. And let's make this a little higher. Okay, let me think for a second. Okay, so I think I just want to make this all bigger up here. This whole piece. I don't think we really need symmetry. We just need this piece to be bigger. So I'm just manually making it bigger. So something like this. And I'm making it bigger because eventually we're gonna use it to make that top strap. So something like this. Make it real small and kind of try to, there we go. Okay, so now I'm gonna get rid of the old base frame, and this one I'm just gonna clone and hide that one, and now we can work on this one. So we need to do the same thing. We need to trim. So we need to trim down like this, and then we need to trim down like that. I might just use lasso. Let's see how that works. So there's a little bit of space here, and it kind of goes down as though this black part is kind of going down towards this edge. So I'm going to go straight here and then down. I'm going to cut all of this. Okay, and then I'm going to do the top. So I'm going to trim all of this along like that. There we go. So let's go ahead and remesh this at 250. Let me save. And I'm going to use round all brush. Okay. All right. So we're looking good so far. I think it's looking nice. All right. So we need to make this back part of the sneaker, which kind of comes up through this. So I'm thinking, I noticed that when I turn it this way, this side is sort of like spilling over. That doesn't really look good. So I'm going to use move and just kind of move that back into where, kind of closer to where it should be. Okay, that's a bit better. It's not perfect, but that's a bit better. I just kind of want it to be straight. All right, so this is the black part. We need to make the red part, which is pretty close to this actually. So maybe we can clone this. So let's take the top one and move it up. Let's do pivot, reset, pivot. Okay. So let me, what do I want to do here? I kind of want to move the bottom one out a little bit more. And then I'll adjust this one, because this one just has to be like a new, yeah, sort of like that. So let's stretch it out. Now let's bring this front down. I wish we could really use the symmetry, but well, let's see. Let's see what it does. Okay, so this would pretty much, I don't know, it's kind of tricky. It's kind of tricky. Maybe I should just try to push it back. I'm probably gonna have to make this bigger, it feels like. And also the back comes up higher. So the back comes up higher, maybe around there. And then the front flattens out. I should trim this, I think. So let's take the line and let's trim it. Let's stretch it out a little bit more. And then let's trim it. So let's take trim. Let's do the line and let's just cut it. So it's small here, but then it gets bigger. So we'll do something like that for now. It's not really where I want it to be or how I want it to be, but let's voxel remesh it. 250. Let's do rounded edge. Keep that smooth. I'll take the symmetry off because unfortunately the symmetry is not right anyway. It'd be a big help, but so let's move this. Let's take drag, because drag we should be able to kind of move down the middle. I just want to push down the middle. And I probably should use another tool for this. So I'm going to stretch it up and I'm going to do it the right way. So I think I'm going to use trim and the polygon. I'll start here. So I really want to trim all this on the top off. And I just want to make the bottom part of like the back part of the shoe where it sort of lifts up. That's the only part that I'm kind of worried about now. But I just want to trim the end because what we have, like I was kind of manipulating it, but it wasn't really the way that it should be. So really it should be something like this. I think. Let's try that. Yeah, I think that's a little bit better. And we can just trim this other edge too. Okay, so let's voxel remesh that at 250. And let's use the rounded edge. Okay. So let's take a look at our main foot part. So let's shrink this up a little bit. Wait, actually, let's make a copy of it. That's the top. Let's make a clone of it. I have to do that because I might have to go back to it if I find out I've done something stupid. Okay, I like this whole shape, looks okay. The only thing is now we have like the tongue. So we just have to figure that part out. So maybe we can trim the tongue. Let's go to trim and let's just try with the lasso. Oops. So let's move this part higher. I'm just trying to think about the best way to do that. Okay, with lasso, the tongue would be something like this. Whoops. Let's do split. So I've also merged this little piece, like 250. I need to save. And I'll just hide this for now. Oh man, this is looks so weird on that side. It's because of the symmetry. So let's turn symmetry off and just move this part over. Let's see if we can trim this again. You know, it might be easier to do that with a separate piece, I think. To be honest with you, rather than doing it that way, I think we could do that with a separate piece. So let's clone this again. And let's try to just use this as a basis for our foot. Now, I did notice that these are all kind of messed up. So I can either make them really skinny or spread out the bottom part of the foot, which I think I might need to do. So I'm going to hide all of these until we get to the bottom. So I'm going to select all of these and just make them a little fatter. So now I'm going to bring back everything. And I want to adjust all this stuff too. Oh, look at that. That looks terrible. Hopefully this smooth can alleviate some of that terrible... Oh, that looks better. Okay, at least the smooth helps a little bit. So So I might be able to pull this out a little bit. These are mostly just like small details. But you know me and my details. So that looks pretty good. So now we can sort of pull out these parts. And kind of give them the space that they need. You know, like I want that layer here. I actually don't know what the other side looks like. I never really paid attention to that. But I guess I'll have to. Right, that looks good. Oh, I guess symmetry is on. So let's bring this out a little bit. Okay. It's looking pretty good. I could possibly bring this part down a little bit lower. Just felt a little high, which means I can bring this down too a little bit. But I don't want the middle to... That's better. Okay, so this part can go up a little bit higher. Let's turn the symmetry off for now. Okay, just kind of make this a little more true to the shape. And now we have to put this little squiggly. But first, we have to deal with this thing up here. So let's bring this out more and just kind of adjust it. It's still so big up there. I really need to pull this part out at the top. We can push this in, pull this out, because we really just want to get those layers. But you don't want them to be too thick. Okay. So now we have to trim this part. But I think we want to trim it like sort of in a circle. So maybe that's a job for our trusty You know what? I know what we can do. Let's just use a rectangle and trim this in the middle. You know what? I don't know if that's the best way to do it. It might be better to trim it in the correct shape. think that's a little bit of a better move. Although I didn't really do it equal. I think I can do it a little bit better than that. All right, let's voxel remesh that. Oh no. Oh, I guess this doesn't look too bad. I really wanted to take advantage of this, like, I guess I can just do it manually. The only problem with doing things manually like this is it looks so much cleaner if you can do it with the tools. So, but, you know, I do have a lot to learn still. So sometimes I'm stuck doing it this way. Where is the rest of this? It keeps getting like sucked back in. Oh no, don't tell me. Okay. Yeah, I know what happened. So when I trimmed it, that always happens. The trim goes all the way through the whole thing instead of just like what you want to trim. Okay, so yeah, that's my fault. So let's select the back. And you know what else we didn't do? Let's solo this. Let's clear this first. We have to deal with this thing. So let's clone it, and maybe we can use it against itself. Because we want to be able to, I think I want to clear out the middle part. But I would like to be able to do it all the way through. So let's change the pivot. So now I think when we stretch it, let's change it a little bit more. When I stretch it, it should just be straight. This keeps getting more and more difficult. Okay. Let's get rid of that. So let's solo this part again. And we need to trim. We need to just trim out the middle. I don't think there's an easy way to do it. So let's just trim with the lasso and do our best to keep it equidistant. It's actually not bad. Okay. So now we have to do that same thing that we did, but this time I'm gonna select the back with selective mask to protect the back part. So now we should be able to take trim and lasso and do that same thing. We can unsolo it if we want. Again, we're still making these black straps, so we just want to, maybe we do one side and then the other. Trim, what are we doing? All right, I gotta figure out how to make this trim better. Okay, that's a little bit better. So I have to trim on the proper angle. I'm going to use my select mask and just mask this part so I don't, so I don't cut through it again. There we go. So now I want to use this side, trim. No, trim. Okay. Get rid of this part. Okay, so now I think I can clear the mask. And that's better. Oh, what is this? Where did that come from? I swear it's always looking for a way to cut some other stuff. Okay. Let's round this out. And I really want to work on these because these need to be round. They can't look like I made some ugly cuts in them. I really want them to be round. Even if I have to do some fabrication. That looks okay, actually. Okay, I think that looks all right. Man, those things were difficult to do. All right, so I think I want to trim this and do the top half of the sneaker and the bottom half separately. I just feel like that would be easier. I think. So let's trim. The laces would go over here, so I think we can effectively just trim this part. Let me use the line. Oh yeah, I forgot we made that part. Okay, good. So we trim that, so this will be the red part. I think I want to use clay. I think I want to just add some add a little something there, add a little shape there. Because I didn't like how flat it was looking. Just kind of seemed unnatural even for a sneaker. Okay, so we're looking pretty good actually. So I think I should trim this. While we're in the trimming mood, I think we should trim this part. Okay. Stretch that out a little bit. Go ahead and voxel remesh it, and then do some rounded edge on it. Keep it nice and smooth. Let me save. So what do I want to do for the tongue? I guess I can voxel remesh this too. Okay, so it just kind of looks like a regular tongue. I think I can just use a sphere for that. Let's just try a sphere. Or do we want to do a... the top does like come to a taper. That's the only thing that I'm a little bit hesitant on. Is what the best shape for that would be. A cone? No. Let's try a sphere. You know, I have an idea. Let's go ahead and validate the sphere. And let's I have to figure out how I want to do it. First, let's try to get a nice bend in it. Let's start with that. So let's change the... This is the one we want. We want the blue Z. So now let's just try to put a bend in it. Okay. Oh, put symmetry on. Did I not have symmetry on before? I hope I did. I can't tell, but just in case, I'm going to go back. Oh, I did. Okay, it looks like it's on. Actually, I can't tell. So I'm going to do the whole thing again. Story of my life. Okay, let's move it back sort of into place. And let's see if we can make moves small and just flatten the top. So I want to try this for the selective mask because I want the bottom to be... I'm actually going to stretch it out. That makes it look really weird. Not really what I'm trying to do. little better actually. So I want to try to do this thing where I take the selective mask with the rectangle, I go like this, and then I make this part smaller. It doesn't look like it's working the way that I wanted it to work. No, that's kind of how I wanted it to work, but it doesn't really look good. Because it's not really like bent anymore, unfortunately. And let's just try to maneuver it and have it make it look like the tongue. Oops. When I try to shape something like this, it's important to like both pull, but then also to push on the back parts. And this part is actually kind of low. Let's use move for that. This part is actually low. I don't think that's really what I'm going for at all. God. Okay, let's stretch it out. Let's stretch it out some. Let's move the pivot. And let's stretch it out a lot. Since that's actually a bit more what it looks like. Let's see if we can take drag and just bring the inside in a bit. That actually looks pretty good. I should have did that at the start. That might actually work for us. Let's see. Pivot, reset, pivot. Let's move this down. Might be a little... Okay, so now we do have to, unfortunately, bring it off of the center line, which is a shame. Make it smaller. Looks like it's tilted a little bit more. And it's actually inside this part. But I think I'd rather bring this part out. Something like that. And now I'll take this part and adjust it and bring it in. But I have to take symmetry off, unfortunately. Which I hate to stop using the symmetry. Symmetry makes things so much easier, but I think I'm at a place where I really can't anymore. There we go, something like that. Now it looks like mine is puffed up a little too much. I'll go ahead and smooth this down a little bit. but I still like it when it kind of touches the ends like that. Okay. Okay. I think that looks pretty good. The only thing that I'm seeing now is I might have made this part a little short. This part I'll bring out too. That looks okay. All right, let me save. So now I have to make this kind of weird squiggle. I'm not really sure how I want to do that. So there's a couple ways to do it. I think I'm just going to manipulate a box. We'll name it side squiggle. I'm just going to validate it. So this is going to be just as janky as it sounds. So we're going to make the shape. My box will remesh this. Geez, not that high. Like 250. I'll do my rounded edge now. I want to kind of put it where I think it's going to go. So it's sort of like here. Okay, so yeah, it's sort of like there. It's just got squiggles. So we're going to pull up and down. Up. Okay, well, let's give it a shot. So let's use move. We'll try move first. And we want to make sure, we want to try to get it in the middle. So let's do, is it green? No, not green. Is it red? Okay, I think it's blue. All right, so let's move the middle part up. We'll move this part down. Maybe we can squeeze that part up. This side down. I mean, it's decent. It's not too terrible. Let's see if we can bring this part out a little bit. I mean, that's pretty good. I just want to bring it closer. Oh, you know what? That's because I have the symmetry thing on. So let me take the symmetry off. That way I can move it all closer to the It's kind of more what I wanted. Okay. Let's remesh this. I think it's actually not too bad. Smooth it out some. And it's going to be the same color as that, so I'm not too worried about it. And also with this, I can bring this out. Whoop. Like that. Same thing with this. I can bring this out a little bit. Doesn't want to move. Let's move it in a little bit. There we go. It's not perfect, but good enough, I think. Now, is there one on the other side? I actually don't know. Let me save. Looks like the inside is exactly the same. Okay. Cool. And also, like, why am I even like tripping on that? Like, they don't have to be perfectly the same, but it makes sense that this reinforced shoelace thing would be on the other side. So let's copy it, and then let's see if we can flip it. I don't know, let's try right to left. Where'd it go? Oh no. I guess we'll just do it manually, because I don't know which symmetry would be the best for it. Let's do snap. Let's just turn it around. Actually, I don't even know if that's the best way to do this. Might not be. Let's see what happens. Yeah, I think that'll work. It's a little weird, but I think it'll work just fine. So we'll bring this out a little bit, since it's a little tucked in there. And we bring this part out. Make sure that's nice and covered. Okay, yeah, that worked. That works. Ooh-wee. Ooh-wee. I think I do want to bring this part out, the shoe itself, but I'd like to bring all of this out too a little bit. I'll use drag. Okay. Move this out a little bit too. Okay. I'll take that. Let's save. All right, so what do we do next? We could make these pesky shoelaces. I have no idea how an easy way to do those. But I guess we have to do them. I think the easiest way to do them would be to do cylinders, make a hole, and then crop them. I think that's the easiest way to do them. But should we do the Nike thing first? The swoosh. This looks like I think we should do each piece. We should do one piece and then flip it and do the other piece. So maybe we'll take everything and just turn it 90 degrees this way so that that's the front. Look how wonky that is. It's embarrassing. I mean, it's gonna look cool though. All right, let's move this in a little bit. I don't know why I'm doing this adjusting now. I can really just do it later. But I can't help but to adjust things as I see them. All right, so how in the world are we going to do this Nike swoosh?